Welcome back to the WordPress development series, Taxonomy to JSON Part 4. In the last video of this series, I took this custom taxonomy data and turned it into this JSON file. And this time, I'll take this same data and turn it into a custom REST API endpoint like this. And yes, to have a proper understanding of the whole process, I strongly recommend that you watch all 4 parts of this series. That being said, let's get started. Alright, so we're back here. Last video we created this JSON file out of these custom taxonomy, which is states, and there's a parent-child relationship with states and cities. And this time I'm going to go ahead and take this data to create something like this. And this is the base URL for the WordPress REST API. And as you can see, it's after WP-JSON, this is the default WP/v2/post. And you can do anything, categories, custom taxonomies, whatever. They have all sorts of things, but that's not what we are after. We are going to create our custom endpoint with our data. Okay, we're back to our code. So what we want to do now is basically go back to creating an array, because this is our first step to go back to where we started off. First, we created everything and generated this array. So what we need to do, remove these guys, writing to a file and converting to JSON. Also this, some basic cleanups. And now let's get this guy back online and go test it. Okay, so that was our previous output, and now let's refresh. Okay, so we got our basic array back. Okay, so next step would be turning this into a function. We're going to call it, okay, and now what we're going to do, get this whole thing all the way down to here, cut it, and bring it inside. Sorry, I just missed the function keyword here. That's why that error message was showing. I mean, this line right here. Now that's gone. Okay, now that this is a function, what we do, we have to run this function too, right? So let's take this, copy it, and bring it down here to make sure it's going to run properly. There you go. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and refresh. If we get the same result, that means our function is running properly, and we do. So now what we do, we just go ahead and remove this, disable this, and instead every function must return something. So we return this variable right here, which is our array. So now, instead of printing the results, it's going to go ahead and send the array to whomever calls this function. Okay, so as mentioned before, this is the standard WP REST API URL or endpoint. So what we are planning on doing is changing this, customizing this all the way. Just after WP-JSON, we want to have something like YouTube/v1/states. So right now it's giving us error message because nothing exists like that, right? And now we're going to write the code to make it exist. Okay, we're back at our code and we do have our function ready. So while this is sitting here, we will get back to it. But to create the REST endpoint, the function we're going to write is inside the functions file right here. Okay, so let's come at the very bottom, and right here we're going to start writing. Okay, so let's create a function, set states, and here we're gonna go ahead and call a REST function provided by WordPress, and this is where we mention our route name, as we saw here, YouTube/v1/states. Now we could type anything we like, but this is a standard practice, like to mention a version once, so that once you create a URL, let's say somebody might be using it for something else, but when you want to create another version of it, so you can just create v2 so they can upgrade on their own time, but the applications that based on v1 keeps on running. Right now it's going to ask for an array. Argument would be method. The next one is the callback. This is where we declare the function we're going to call. For now, just to test, I'll type anything, and we're going to add action, and here's a hook for the REST API to create custom URLs and such. And now we're going to call our function setStates. Okay, and here, just to test, we're going to create the callback, mention anything, and it should return something. For now, we're going to say a REST success. Okay, let's save that. Now let's go test our URL. We're here, and now let's refresh. Whoa, we got a scary issue here. You probably already noticed I just spelled it wrong. Register. And now refresh. Boom, there you go. So we have REST success. And just to further test what we can do with it, we can send an array and test it. A simple array. Okay, and test what happens here. Refresh. Boom, see? So REST API converted that into a small JSON. So at this point, we just get rid of this guy and go back, bring our man from here, which is ready and sitting there, drop it here, and this time we just change this function name, basically this function name as a callback, and replace with this guy. Save it. So now we have our REST route, callback function, and this function very familiar we are right now, and returning our resultant array, which is a hierarchical taxonomy structure with state and cities. And refresh. Boom, there you go. We just converted this custom taxonomy, state and cities, parent-child relationship array into a custom REST API endpoint, and this is the result. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button and the subscribe button. This will help me bring more free contents like this to you every week. Thanks again.